right? I mean, being the situation
Well,
isn't accidental for.
I mean, cause is sort of an interesting question, but I would say facts are important, and I think dysfunctional families are a significant factor in homelessness, and there are not many efforts on the part of people involved to remediate or to rectify problems that are family dysfunction. For example, you could imagine an arbitrator or you, someone that would act sort of to try to bring the two parties together, see what the source of the, shall we say, estrangement is, and try to modify that estrangement. I mean, that would require psychological and negotiating. In fact, this is what the title of the program at the Harvard Law School. There is a negotiation project, which is quite interesting, and people pay $3,000 a week to attend it in June. I think it's still going on. It's in Pound Hall. Of course, international law has become a very much more important part of our civilization, and especially as immigration has brought people from places like Nepal and Cambodia, and you often see this in Massachusetts. Shall we say the printed instructions are in 25 languages. If you go to the Harvard Tourism Office, which is right over at 4 Brattle Street, you can find, well, the website for it, the, the Harvard Square Tourism uh, has something like 25 different languages. It would really be good. I mean, I don't know if you have a screen in your classroom, but you besides, well, you've got obviously because you're showing my picture, maybe. Well,
We'll see.
so
I'm not sure how that
if
will
you
work out.
also had a screen that showed, for example, the Tuesday Meals program, which has a website, the article from the Gazette about the new shelter that's being built at First Parish, the Utiloo website, and
But
well,
how?
I mean, what I try to say is that uh, being homeless, it's of course a question of where you're homeless, and
Right.
if you're homeless in Harvard Square,
It's not so bad as other
it may
places.
not be as bad, although 2 people froze to death here last winter.
Yeah.
And that was a very poignant thing. It's something I always remember whenever I go past the location where I saw the frozen body.
You discovered them, or you saw them, or
I saw them. It was 3 in the morning, and nobody was around. And I didn't have a cell phone, so I couldn't call. And he looked like he was really gone. So,
did you know him at all, or no?
well, I exchanged words once. I mean, it's funny because if you were a citizen with some, shall we say, power, you would be able to get the human services, Cambridge Human Services, to get someone out on the street. I mean, they never, ever have, to the best of my knowledge, had someone out. That is the government people that you pay millions of dollars to.
Yeah.
I think that department must get several $1 million. I'm not sure. It's in the budget. I should look it up.
The
But
Department of Human Services
at
for
city of
Cambridge,
city of
for the
Cambridge,
city of
yeah.
Cambridge.
And that they would ideally the director would come out on at 11 o'clock at night, at some mornings at 5 a.m.
Right.
and at various times. Harvard Square is not a politically, shall we say, there aren't a lot of voters in Harvard Square. There are potential voters at Harvard College, but for the most part, there was one candidate who did very well because he was able to motivate those voters.
At Harvard. At Harvard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Chinese, what was his name? Stanford, or oh gosh, I can't even remember it right now because initially we were sort of friendly, but right now we're not particularly friendly, and in part because I don't think he recognizes what I offer in terms of advice for getting elected. But anyway, he got reelected. Dennis Benson didn't. Um, the local elections obviously should be voted. I mean, the citizens that live, I mean, the students that live here can vote and do vote, but not in any kind of, the percentage, the participation rate is maybe 16%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's remarkably low. Um, and if you think about all the people that work here that ideally would have a voice too, I mean, it could really, if they really got the vote out, if they made it, especially, I mean, if they had computer voting,
Right.
which they have in Oregon already, and then they had better, shall we say, presentation of the candidates.
So you had mentioned earlier that you had been married
I was
prior.
married, and I couldn't find a job. I think that joblessness, and that eventually led to divorce, and
What were you doing for work prior to?
I was an investment analyst at CNA Insurance, CNA
Okay.
Financial Corporation, and
So your degrees in economics or?
I have an MBA from Indiana University and a BA from Ripon College, Ripon, Wisconsin,
Okay.
and I went to the University of Chicago Laboratory High School. It's an interesting Wikipedia site. People from University of Chicago Laboratory School. It includes the advisor to the president, Valerie Jarrett, who attended and also went to Mount Herman School.
Oh yeah.
So
Northview, Mount Herman.
right,
Yeah,
Northfield,
yeah,
Mount Herman.
right.
So there are a lot of very significant people on that list of people that attended, and I'm not. But needless to say, maybe someday. But
So we were mentioning about family estrangement. So
well,
first we had divorce, and then
I did I did
you have a daughter.
I have a daughter, and they have never invited me to their house. I mean, I talk with her on the phone occasionally. She doesn't always pick up, but she usually answers my email. Um,
And they know of your situation.
they know of my situation, and my daughter, for a while before I got Social Security, provided me with a monthly amount that was not insignificant. Not quite as much as Social Security, but certainly in terms of paying the rent. And my recent situation, in terms of, shall we say, sleeping in the car, I was living with a friend whom I met at the St. Paul's Meals program, which has been discontinued, as I have said. Uh, but he has had another friend, and so he gave the other friend my bed, and I had to leave. But I still go there in the morning for breakfast, and in the evening usually to rest a little bit because the car isn't available until 11:30 or later sometimes. So essentially, I go to sleep at midnight. I wake up at 5 or 6. It's sort of a stressful
Hmm.
sort of way to live at the moment, but sometimes I'm able to catch a nap here and there, and that makes a huge difference. I
So
mean,
you will you have a place to stay in the evenings this coming winter, or no?
I anticipate that it will be just as it has been. That is, I'll probably stay at the library when it's open until 9 o'clock, and then go to Steve's until 10:15, and then go over to Almond Pond and wait there until I can go and sleep in the car. I imagine that will probably be the way I handle it. Sundays, holidays are always. I mean, some of the university libraries are open on holidays, and it's something that Cambridge College students might want to know that, for example, you can go to the Center for Government and International Studies, and if you look like a student, or if you look, well, you can go to the concourse level and use the computers there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would imagine that there should be a computer room, and ideally Cambridge College would be 24/7 in terms of access to a computer room,
No, it's not.
but that's not the case yet. So, I mean, what you're trying to do as a student, I mean, you may have a computer, but you may not. Your computer may not be working. You may have a connection that you pay for, and then you can't pay for it because of whatever reason. So, it's always good. I think one of the best things that there are so many public computers that even over at what used to be Kinko's, FedEx, they apparently don't have computers there anymore. At least that's what someone told me. I haven't been in there in a long time. But unlike many locations where you have to pay for computers,
Do you
here,
find Wi-Fi useful? I mean,
Wi-Fi is infinitely useful, but I don't have a computer. I mean, if I
right.
had a tablet, and I understand Amazon is going to be creating one for $50. So that would mean, I mean, the biggest thing, if you will, is if you're homeless, is that you don't really have a lot of carrying capacity. I mean, you think about the 55-pound limit on airplanes, but if you're, wandering around, you don't want to lug 55 pounds around
No,
with you,
certainly not. No.
and uh, and you get so tired after a while that you become sort of forgetful. So you lose jackets even. I
Hmm.
mean, like this. I mean,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, so that I think it's important that well, the miniaturization of things has meant a lot, and what's going to happen with watches and Fitbits. Fitbits are going to save a lot of lives, but it seems like it's taking them forever to make them, shall we say, health monitors that they should be with automatic alerts to.
Yeah, they're thinking of having it connected to your primary care physician or something, having a
Right,
wristband,
right,
right?
and
So,
that should have happened years ago. I mean, it could have happened years ago. It's just that the market for that hasn't been perceived as being, one that is profitable. I mean, what Steve Jobs did, most especially, I think, was foresee the market for the uh, the Apple and particularly the iPhone and the iPad and Siri. I mean, to be able to talk
mm,
is, I mean, something that really increases utility by quite a bit, and it really hasn't been, shall we say, used as there's a company in Cambridge called Nuance.
yep.
Actually, it's in Burlington, but they have the research and development at Prospect and Mass Ave in the new building. Well, the Commonwealth Energy used to be Commonwealth Energy. Commonwealth Energy was the electric company long, long time ago, and they built this speculative real estate building, and for a long time, it was just like the Empire State Building, only partially occupied. They sold it to a Chinese, and now it's getting to be occupied. But
What,
nuance is.
which show's impression of that? What did
Just
you?
it's funny to hear those things. But for me, I don't really understand the situation here because I'm new here,
You're
so
new as of when?
I only arrived here for a month.
I've only been here 8 months.
Yeah,
So you arrived 8 months ago, which would have been
March.
March. So you missed the worst winter in the history of.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
Yeah, so you
Mhm.
got spring and summer, and you're about to experience the winter. You'll be here until.
Until my master end, and I wish I can find a job here. Are we gonna put this on?
Oh yes, you're on. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
Well, you're
so
probably like a lot of other students.
Mhm.
That is to
she's
say,
not like any other students.
well, I mean, but insofar as your expectations of getting a master's degree
Uh huh.
and finding a job, and I think one of the things that has to be acknowledged is that your English is less than perfect.
Mhm.
So insofar as you have a chance to be with people like Roger and myself, I mean, you're learning English, and
Yeah.
so that might even be, shall we say, a reason to go out, to go to a movie with someone my age who otherwise would not be in the. So anyway,
Are
that
you
said,
making a pass, George? Is that what you're doing?
I guess it's called a pass. I mean, I'm not a football player, so I'm not sure what that word means. But I know we had pass fail at the law school for a while.
Did you go to
But
law school too?
no, no, my daughter graduated from law school in
Okay.
'95, worked for a lawyer for 20 years, and quit to become a psychologist.
Oh wow,
So
really?
she studied at Northern Illinois now, but she has a JD from Harvard and a bachelor's degree from Stanford.
But she wanted to become a psychologist.
Yeah, I don't know why, a clinical psychologist. I mean, she's
Yeah,
got to
I
be
ask
crazy.
myself that all the time. Why am I getting a degree in psychology? Why would I want to be a psychologist?
Well, I guess you can make a living.
I get, yeah, I guess.
I mean, there are people that do make a living
apparently,
doing it.
yeah.
I mean, the
Although
clinical
insurance.
psychologist I know, though,
Yeah.
is a woman whose last job was being a crossing guard.
Really?
Yeah, for the city of Cambridge.
Wow.
So before that, she was a clinical psychologist on the Cape Cod. I don't know what the full story is. She's almost immobile now. She has to be pushed around in a wheelchair. She worked for the city of Cambridge. She never donated to Social Security, so
She never paid into it.
she never paid into it, and so she doesn't really have much in the way of. I mean,
Do you
there's certain.
qualify for Social Security?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does,
Well, I mean,
but
not
only at a
everybody
very minimum level.
right.
You should know about
You have to
40
pay into
quarters.
40
40
quarters.
quarters,
Yeah.
they'll probably change it someday, but for a long, long time, if you have 40 quarters of coverage, you're eligible. If you don't, you aren't. So
Okay.
then you get a special program that's less.
It's much less.
So in other words, if you have a job, you want to keep it for 40 quarters.
Yeah.
And once you have that, I mean, you go work for the government. You can get a government pension, and you can work out pretty well. But it's probably a good thing to save money. I mean, obviously, working for the government, you're not going to make a lot of money, mostly. And insofar as that's the case, I mean, it's a good thing that there is this way that you can get two pensions. I mean, I'm all for double dipping because I think the people that double dip are probably many of them. I
Yeah.
mean, are people that really need to have that kind of. Now
Really
I
good.
don't know who I had a friend. He's dead. He died of cancer, but he did 10,000 watercolors.
Really? Is this
And-
one of them? No.
No,
No. It's a
no,
nice
but
one.
he would do watercolors. He'd sell them for $2, and my friend who's a lawyer had